Story. Grandma chastised her main source of income and care, so we move out with almost all appliances and furniture. This is my father's story, and I have permission to share it. We're not native English speakers, so expect some confusion. To give some background, my father's side of the family. His father, 70 years old, my grandfather, GF, passed away in an accident about 10 years ago. His mother, my grandmother, GM, 76YO, a retired farmer. She injured her back while working as a farmer. She underwent a couple of back surgeries, which my father paid for, refused to follow the doctor's orders, and became partially disabled as a result of an unsuccessful physical rehabilitation. For about 20 years, she lived off her children's income. His oldest brother, my first uncle, 1U, 57YO, lives with his family and provides almost no financial or practical support to GM. But he lived close to GM and visit on occasion. My father, 56 years old. His younger brother, second uncle, 2U, 54YO, divorced because he cheated on his wife. He had a high-paying job but spent all of his money on his mistress's cars and houses. When he ran out of money to spend on his sides, he took out an extensive loan to buy more things for his girlfriends, but he refused to pay for his own daughter's college fund, by the way, and went into debts. 2U and my father hate each other because 2U believes my father is overly critical and demanding about what he does. His youngest sister, my auntie, 48YO, was 48 years old, and her daughter, my cousin, CO, 18YO, lived with GM. Auntie was also divorced because her husband was abusive. She was the primary caretaker for GF and GM, and she did all of the housework. However, she was also laid off as a result of the pandemics and faced significant debt. In the same year, she ended her own life. My father has provided the majority of their income since he was still in his 20s because he worked in a different town and had a well-paying job. He had been sending the majority of his salary to his parents, to the point where he didn't have enough money to save or live a life appropriate to his income. He even told me that he was unable to pay for my college because he must send money to GM, and the program I want does not have a scholarship. My country requires at least a bachelor's degree. So I had to go to a nursing school that provided full financial aid, a free dormitory, free meals, and the scholarship's installments. The year my aunt passed away, 2019, my parents had no choice but to retire sooner than we had planned for a decade. They returned to my father's hometown and became GM's full-time caretaker and housekeeper. At the same time, 2U returned to live with GM after being laid off and suffering bankruptcy, became a freeloader, doing nothing but drinking, smoking, gambling, and flirting with more women, using my parents' money obviously. I also have to send 60 to 70% of my salary to GM's house because my parents' savings are not enough to cover additional freeloader living costs, GM's mortgage, all their debts combined, and CO schooling and allowance. This almost wiped out my parents' savings. But my father was never a favorite child for some reason, despite the fact that he contributed the most money, caused no trouble, and was always available to help GF and GM with anything, medical bills, running errands, etc. Despite this, GM only believed 2U and always scolded my parents without hearing their side of the story. GM also enjoys pretending to be delirious and pooping or peeing all over herself as a punishment, forcing my parents to clean up after her. They took her to the hospital several times because they worried she had dementia, age-related regression or something, but doctors confirmed that her brain function, thought process, and orientation are completely fine. The recent event that broke the camel's back. GM went to check her bank account. As I said before, she is fine physically and mentally except for being senile and having back pain. She discovered that her balance had dropped by about $5,000 over the last 10 years. She immediately accused my parents of stealing her money, which they did use, but they tried to explain to GM that they use all of their savings to help pay for her everything because they're running out of money and no longer have a steady source of income. She became enraged, telling everyone she knew that my parents had stolen her money. So, after several years of being free caretakers and housekeepers, my parents decided to move to live in the same town as me, and they paid a large sum of money for a moving service, 500 kilometers/300 miles, to move every necessary appliance, such as a refrigerator, washing machine, air conditioner, and so on, which my parents had used their money to buy for GM over the years with them. So GM no longer has any appliances, caretakers, or extra money to spend. I hope her golden childs will be there for her from now on because we're no con, tongue sticking out.